All right, here goes nothing. What's up, y'all? This is your first time here. My name is Jovan Page. Everybody calls me Joe. I'm an MC, motivational speaker, and I guess you can say influencer in the Atlanta area. And usually when people come on my page, it's to laugh or to be entertained. Today we're going to have a vulnerable conversation. We're going to get vulnerable. All right, my therapist said it would be a good idea if I'm exploring ways to continue to motivate people to be intentional about actually sharing some more of my story. So some people know that I'm originally from Chicago. Some people also know that I was raised with my grandparents, but there's a lot that happens in between time. All right. And I haven't figured out what I'll call this series yet, but this is going to be Real Talk with Joe or Joe being vulnerable. I don't know exactly what it is. I'm going to workshop that. Maybe you guys can help me with that. But this channel is specifically going to be about being vulnerable and allowing people to understand a little bit more about how I've become the person I became. All right, the good, bad, ugly, and indifferent. So today's topic is going to be about forgiveness. And it's really been pressing upon my heart to have this conversation because it's not easy. It's especially not easy to forgive yourself, but it's really not easy to forgive someone who you feel like might not really be sorry. So today's conversation is going to be about how I forgave my deadbeat father 25 years later. So there's a whole lot of gaps that I might not fill in, and that's why this is probably going to be more of an extended conversation. But primarily what I want to do is give you guys a little background and then essentially allow you to understand how I got to the point of forgiving my biological father. So once again, my name is Joe. My family calls me JoJo. I was raised with my grandparents, and I'm originally from Chicago. Now, a lot of people might ask what happened to your parents. And that was something that I struggled with when I was younger. When I would have my granddad or my grandma come pick me up from the school, and in elementary school, you know, everybody has questions. It's, oh, is that your mom? Is that your dad? Oh, no, it's my grandpa. Or, you know, that's my oma. Oh, well, where's your mom? Where's your dad? I always knew where my mom was. And one of the reasons why I champion her and why she's probably one of my favorite people, one of the people who I assume to be my biggest heroes, is because my mom was addicted to drugs. And my mom understood that the best situation would be for my sister and I to be raised by my grandparents. It was more stability, and that inability to be that provider was something that some people will push against, right? For a pride or for an ego. My sister and I had always been together, and she knew that in order for that to continue to be a reality, that it'd be best if she gave us to our grandparents. So our grandparents got primary guardianship, and my mom started doing the work. And when I say doing the work, I have so much respect for her as an individual. Like I said, she's my superhero because being addicted to anything is not easy, and it doesn't go away. And everyone has their vices, but when it's something that actually is a health thing, you have to have a different sort of wherewithal and intentionality to actually get through that. She has the biggest heart that I know. She's one of the most selfless people I know. So I love my mom. Love my mom. As a kid growing up in Chicago, and then a kid being uprooted and moved down to East Atlanta, there was a whole lot of opportunity for the wrong influences to be a part of my life. But because I had my grandfather, and my granddad was strict, man. He did a whole lot of yelling. He was military. It gave me some toughness, right? And one thing I really respect my grandparents for, my mom for, is that they never spoke ill against my father. They never said he's a deadbeat or any of that kind of stuff. They always said, hey, if you ever want to get to know him or reach out to him, you know, that's your journey. So I always knew who my biological father was. And when I show you all the picture later, it's going to be very obvious. It's just like, what do you mean? It really wasn't something that I really cared too much about at the time, right? I knew I had a father figure. My grandfather taught me all the things I need to know. But as I was going to college, it was something that was weighing heavy on me. I started thinking to myself, well, I'm about to embark on adulthood. I'm going to college. I actually want to figure more out about where I'm from. I kind of want to know more about who my biological father was. And, you know, it's not like I'm actually seeking to have an apology or anything, but I just want to know more, right? And I actually sent the message right before I went to college. I still have the messages, and I actually made sure I screenshotted them so I can have easier access. But I sent the message on July 7th, 2011. So I graduated high school and I'm embarking on my freshman year at Georgia State University. And I send this message. I have no intentions of creating drama or negative interference with your family. Anything that may have happened between you and my mom is between you two. I'm 18 years old and I'm a man, and I will not resort to childlike mannerisms. I'm about to go to school, so I just wanted a little more background of where I may have come from. Thanks for your consideration. Now that date is July 7th, 2011. Now I sent that message, and to be honest, I went to school and started having fun. I didn't think about it. And it's something I unpacked in therapy years later, is that I had a complex of accomplishing everything. I had to be the face of everything. So I was homecoming prince. I was Mr. Georgia State University. I was SGA vice president. I was an alpha. I was in Delta Sigma Pi. I was in the 1913 student ambassadors. I had an internship at a Capitol. I had an internship at K. Jewelers Corporate. The list goes on. I just did everything. And a lot of things I did wasn't really because I was particularly interested in it. I did it because I knew he could see it. Because I knew that he was literally still in Chicago watching my Facebook. But I didn't understand why. I didn't understand why I had to be a busybody and run around until, like I said, I unpacked it a little later. So fast forward, unfortunately, my grandfather passed. That hit me hard. So I kind of went on a journey. I liken a lot of my life to the Lion King movie. It was Simba being lost, not understanding what his role should be in a particular pride. So he figured, I just go away and figure it out. Well, that's kind of what it was for me. I was having my Simba moment. And my grandma, my mom, my sister, and I, we went on a trip to Vegas. And we basically said that every year around the same time we wanted to have a family trip, to continue to keep the bonds tight, obviously for us to lean on one another after the patriarch of the family passed away. So we were in Vegas, and my mom happened to, get a little tipsy. So she gets really emotional when she drinks. And she said, "Jojo, I just want you to know you are such a great man. Never think you're not good enough or you weren't good enough because your biological father didn't want to be present." I'm just like, I'm just doing my job. You don't have to thank me. I don't deserve you. I said, "Please don't say that. No, I don't deserve you." But in the back of my mind, I'm like, wait, I never got a response from that message 4 years ago. I'm going to say something. So I said something. I said, "The above message was 6 years ago." Kiddo replied, his response, "You're welcome to know or find out whatever it is you want to find out. I've never been one to run from anything. If it's a DNA sample you want, that's fine too." Now, ladies and gents, I get sometimes there's confusion about things. But I want you to look at this picture. And I want you to tell me, could anybody else be my father? So, in similar fashion, I responded, to be honest, I'm not about to pay for a DNA test. Because what would it really change? I'm 24 years old. We are both grown men. I've seen pictures of you past and present. We have the same face. His response: "I was looking at some pics yesterday and I agree a lot of similarities, and I didn't imply you had to pay for anything. Furthermore, I told you I don't run from SHIT. Pardon the language, so let's cut the clear my name talk out. I went to court twice, but your mother didn't show. That's neither here nor there. I work nights, so I usually sleep, but I'll be in touch." So there's two things wrong with that. And this is a lesson that everyone should have in intentional conversation and communication. Healthy conversation is acknowledging the fact that someone else's fact is their fact. And when you have implications on whatever their fact is, you can't in the next sentence try to retract it. For example, he says, "Furthermore, I don't run from," insert cuss word. And then the very next sentence says, "Pardon my language." If you ever type a message And as for forgiveness, as you've already typed it, you could have backspaced it yourself. The second thing, you take ownership when you're wrong about something. And you can't take partial ownership. You can't say because of this or because of that. To be honest with you, I wasn't present. The only people who would know the truth would be himself and my mom. I was not old enough to know. But to say that's neither here nor there, but then to say it, you're asserting it is here and or there. So my response, that language was unnecessary. You could have pardoned yourself before sending it. Nevertheless, if you give me some time and a number to call, I'll be in touch. Now, to give you guys a little more context about what was going on in my life during that time, I was actually on the Stacey Abrams campaign. And during that campaign, I was a campaign MC, so I would go on all of her rally events. I would introduce her, I would rally the crowd, and then getting closer to the primary, we were on the drive to history, so we started getting celebrities coming down to Georgia, and I was a person who would introduce them. So I got to introduce Tracy Ellis Ross and Oprah and President Obama. I was blessed to introduce Will Ferrell and John Legend, and I just couldn't deal with this at that moment. It wasn't something I could do. I started getting a whole bunch of friend requests. And the friend requests I was getting shared the same last name as my biological father. I didn't want to respond to anything, but I did peruse some of the messages, and I was getting messages from his sister saying, hey, this is your aunt, and oh my God, it's really you. You're so handsome, and I don't know where you got your height from because everyone else is short, but we just love you, and we've been looking for you. No, you haven't. Because you all are still in Chicago, and I was in Chicago for most of my childhood. And I can see you on Facebook in the same way you found me that quickly, you could have found me. But that's neither here nor there. I struggled with the pride. And what I did was I left those people on red for about 2 years. So this was 2017. Let's fast forward to 2019. And in future conversations, I'll be able to give you a little more color. But essentially, I got this random prophecy. And when I say random, it was random. I was in the grocery store. I was getting some chicken fingers, some buffalo chicken tenders from Aldi's. I like to rack up a nose, give me some ranch, dip it. At the time, my metabolism was cool, so I could eat whatever I wanted to, still skinny. That's neither here nor there. I was in a grocery store, and the lady stops me. It's an older lady, and she says, hey, young man, God has something great for you. And when I say great, great. God just told me to tell you he sees you speaking to nations and empowering people. I didn't let her know what I did or what I aspired to do or anything. But she said, but you aren't being obedient to something. I knew exactly what it was. At that very moment, I knew exactly what it was. My inability to forgive my father for his transgressions was directly affecting what God had for me in a bigger purpose. Now, here's what makes it difficult, because it was never really about me. It didn't matter to me that my biological father wasn't present because I had my grandfather. What bothered me is the fact that it had so many implications to my family. The fact that my granddad had to work till he died. He literally worked till his last very day because my biological father couldn't step up. My mom got addicted to drugs because of him. And this is something I was able to confirm later. It was his fault. He introduced her to them. And then when she got pregnant, he gaslit her knowing that it was his, but decided to say to his family, oh, she's crazy. Oh, she's just after me for my status. I found out that his name is on my sister's birth certificate, but not mine. So that means there was some sort of ownership for her. So why weren't you there for her at least? Because at this point now, I'm the man of the house. I'm the patriarch. So I'm immediately in defense mode. It's like Simba returning back to the pride. It's like, no, I need some answers. And if I'm being honest, it wasn't like I was an angry kid. The blessing is that I had such a stable household. I had a wonderful sister. My great-grandma lived in the house with us. I had my mom, my grandma, my grandfather, a great community around me. I didn't go the angry black man route. I didn't resort to crime and have an excuse for how my upbringing was, or because I didn't have a father present. But I was angry. And something in my mind always told me, if I see him face to face, he gotta see me. Keep it a buck with you. He gotta see me. Well, shortly after that conversation I had with the lady in the grocery store, I sent him a message. And in the message, I didn't say a lot. And mind you, it had been about 3 years since he originally reached out, said that he would be in touch. He had called me on Facebook a couple times. I didn't answer. His siblings reached out. Cousins, obviously, that I hadn't met, reached out. I didn't respond. But I sent the message. And I said, this will put the ball in his court. And at least I can be obedient to this point to God to say, I at least made this attempt. All the message said was, I'll be in Chicago 10/7 through 10/10. This is September 21st, 2021. Not that long ago. He responded, said, let me know your scheduled plans so I can make plans to do something. To be honest, I didn't have expectations he would follow up, but he did. And we went to this bar on the South Side. He actually was having a work event. When I saw him and I saw me, it was a little scary to see someone who you've only seen through a screen who is partly responsible for you being on this earth. But you don't know. I can't call you dad. Can't call you daddy. I don't feel that. But as soon as we walked in, he had a whole bunch of coworkers. Looks like it was someone's retirement party. All the older ladies took a liking to me immediately, and she said, "Oh, that's your son?" He's like, "Yeah, this is my son." To be honest, I cringe a little bit on the inside because I'm like, "Oh, you don't know me, man." It's like, "Yeah, this is Jovan. Don't he look just like me?" They joked around. "Oh, nah, he's way finer than you. And he's way taller, too." So immediately he gets into the banter and starts laughing with them and saying, I could stand on a chair. And then I realized, wow, like, that's some of the charm that I guess I just genetically inherited. Still weird. We get away from the pleasantries. We sit down. And I said, hey, man, I don't know where to start, so hopefully you can. And I saw him struggle with every single sentence he was speaking. Every time he would talk, he would start cussing. He was like, all right, so, But I could tell a conviction. I could see a desire to tell me everything. And he said, I'm going to tell you the ugly. I'm the one who got your mom hooked on drugs. He said, I was running with the GDs. I got her pregnant the first time. We was always fighting and making up, and, I knew you was mine too, but, I was just running around and, I put my hands on her a couple times. There was one time I went by your granddad, man, sorry for your loss, man. He was such a powerful man. I went by there, called myself dropping off some money for you and your sister. So I went by there and he stopped me at the door. I had like $20. I was like, here, it is for the diapers. And he pushed me in the chest and he gave me the 20. He said, don't come back here. And he said, I didn't. That was my fault. I'm going to be honest with y'all. I was surprised by how I felt God's grace at that moment. In that very moment, I couldn't be angry. And it's not that I couldn't be angry because of him telling me that he physically abused my mom, which I guess I already knew, or that he got her on drugs. It was the fact that all of the anger and frustration that I had harbored in my heart just disintegrated. It evaporated. It just left. And immediately after I had that conversation in Chicago, I got my dream job at the time at the Ron Clark Academy. I got my first 5-figure speaking engagement. I got into Emerging 100 of Atlanta, Lead Atlanta, nominated and awarded as one of Atlanta's most influential people. See, a lot of times God isn't just dangling or suspending your goals and accomplishments and dreams for no reason. Because there is a debt to be paid in order to receive some of the things that you've been promised. Because you promised him something. Your inability to forgive someone, at the bare minimum, is really just a hindrance on you. You're not doing them any favors by not forgiving them. You're actually holding yourself back. So if you're looking at this, and whether it's like my case, 25 years later or 10 years later, life is too short, guys. And God has something so great for you to accomplish or for you to be a part. And all he's looking for you is to be obedient. But here's the crazy thing. You know what it is. That thing. Yep, that one. Because you're about to say something else, but no, that one. That's the thing. That is the thing. That's what you need to do. That's who you need to forgive. That's a combo you need to have. And at bare minimum, forgiveness doesn't mean you have to forget. It doesn't mean you can't create boundaries. At the end of the day, my obedience was tied to my purpose. That was a lot. That was a lot for me. Actually never talked about this in front of someone else. But it felt good and it was liberating. And I appreciate you guys allowing me to have that space. But what I will also encourage is for you to allow this to be the space for you as well. Whether it's in the comments, whether it's an email or a DM, I'd love to hear from you. And I want this to be the space where we can be vulnerable. It's not always just going to be about me sharing. Sometimes it'd be about us sharing, us engaging in dialogue, having difficult conversations that are really important to have. Because on the other end of whatever you're going through is a breakthrough. This is the last thing I'll leave you with. Life. The cliche is life is short, right? The word life is a short word. It's only 4 letters. But it starts with L. Why is that significant? Because L is a loss, right? No one likes taking L's, but everyone's taking them. And the difference between the winner and the loser is how you respond to that L. But then life has 3 more letters, and the second and the third spell if. Because if you can acknowledge the L that you got was just the beginning, you'll get to the E, and that's the excellence everybody looks for. For a long time, I only had an L because I was unwilling to get the I and the F. I was unwilling to get the F, which is forgiveness. Life is short, y'all. Make that phone call, shoot that text. At least do your due diligence and your part. And you can't control anything else. But it will be so liberating to you. And I can't wait to see you guys accomplish all the things God has for you. So as always, thanks for tuning in. Like I said, we're going to have more of these conversations, and I love you. I appreciate you. And stay Jotivated.
As great as you are, as skilled as you are, as talented as you are, I just want one thing from you. Never allow life to make you forget why you do what you do.